We're not hearing the, Dr. Richards, we're not hearing you. I'm not too sure if you have your mic on or not. Send up your volume, I think.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, we are.
Yes, no? You're not hearing me?
Yes. Yes, we are hearing you. Are you hearing me? We are hearing you now.
Okay. Well, you're hearing me, but apparently I'm not hearing you. Just give me 1 minute.
Sure.
Okay. Are you hearing me now?
We're still hearing you, Dr. Richards. Are you hearing us?
Okay. Let me take off the headset because I'm not hearing you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Doc.
All right. Okay, great. Wonderful. You'll have to check those headsets. I use them just the other night for Men Talk and it worked fine. I'm not sure what's happening, but we'll deal with that after. Good evening to every single one of you. Thank you, First Lady. I love you dearly as well. You know that. And I thank God for you always, always, for what he's doing in your life. It challenges me and it encourages me to do more. And as we were saying that, we were having this conversation this evening about wanting more from God. And I was saying, if you go to the supermarket and you want more groceries, you have to be prepared to pay more. You can't just go and ask for more. You have to pay more. So what are you doing? What more are you giving to God if you want more from him? And we've got to understand it's up to us. So many things we leave up to God, but we have a responsibility. That's why God says, let them know. But anyway, we didn't want to discuss that tonight. I just want to remind you at this time that tomorrow night, we'll be having Dr. Rossi Khan. He's going to be here with us sharing because too many of us are suffering physically. And we have had a few members who have had strokes, and we really want to deal with this. We want to know practically. Again, it comes back to the thing that we can do. We can't just pray for good health and healing if we're not doing the right things. We can't pray for God to keep us, healthy if we're eating bad food and we're eating food that will destroy us and we're eating food that God says not to eat. We have to do our part. And so tomorrow evening, Dr. Rossi Khan will be here with us one more time to share with us as to what are some of the things that we can do to prevent stroke. Okay. Also, I told you last week, Thursday, that I wanted to talk with you about some things in the ministry. We'll do that coming to the end. I'm going to leave some time where we can address a couple of issues that have come up in the ministry. And so we'll do that coming to the end of tonight. But tonight, we want to continue on this topic of this thing called love. This thing called love. And just to remind us, we're looking at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, which says, and Paul is writing, he said, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, apparently Paul spoke in tongues, right? He said, but I have not love. I've become a sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could move mountains, you see, I mean, that's a powerful thing, eh? But have not love, I am nothing. I said, tell how strong and how powerful love is. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, but I have not love, it profits me nothing. And this is where we are at. says love suffers long. Some versions said love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. It's not puffed up. Does not behave rudely. Does not seek its own. Is not provoked. Thinks no evil. Does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in truth. Bears all things. Believes in all things. Hopes all things. Endureth all things. And we're going to get into all these things. But where we've reached is love does not envy. That's the last thing that we did. We should not envy. Envy is wanting something that someone else has and we feel that we should have it. We are angry and upset because they have it. And we talked a lot about that. We're not going to go back into it. But just one thing before we move on, I want to encourage us to have a spirit of contentment. Have a spirit of contentment. Too many of us, we keep looking at the grass that is on the other side, and it looks greener on the other side, not understand that we need to tend to our own grass so that it would get green. And we need to be contented with where we are at if we want God to take us to somewhere else. Because if you're not grateful to God for where he has brought you from and where he's brought you to, then he would not want to take you somewhere else because you're not grateful, you're not thankful to him. We have got to be thankful for where we are at. Desire more, look for more, work towards more, be ambitious. How many of us are thankful for the job that we have? It's only when we lose things and we begin to say, I wish I had and I wish I still had. And we look towards others and other things. So I'm saying be contented, be thankful for where you are at right now. So love does not envy. So we want to move on. And the next verse says, love does not parade itself. Or in some versions, it said, love is not puffed up. Love does not parade itself. Love is not puffed up. Remember, we are saying that love is what love does. So love really is an action. It's what you do. It's not what you feel, but it's what you do. And love is not puffed up. The other day we went, my wife and I were taken to breakfast. For those of you who saw my Facebook page, I posted, I said, just poking a little fun, trying to have a little fun. I said, my wife and I, we were treated to a bath. And I was asking people if you know what kind of bath we had. And the bath really meant BATH, breakfast at the Hyatt. That's what it was about. So we were treated to breakfast. It's not every day we get that. And we were happy. And we want to say thank you, to the persons that treated us to breakfast at their Hyatt, a bath. But while we were there, we were seated and there was this young lady, very petite, slim young lady. She was just walking about the place. She was just walking. I don't know if she was doing anything in particular, but she was walking up and down and looking. I know she looked at me and maybe she looked at some of the other men too, because I suspect she was looking to see if we were looking at her. She was smaller, very tiny lady, and dressed in a kind of way that suggests that she wanted to call attention to her physique. But she was parading herself. That's what from my perspective, that's how I saw it. She was parading herself, wanting to ensure that people looked at her. And that is not how love is. Love does not parade itself. It doesn't say, here I am, look at me. That's not love. Everybody's there and you're walking around because you want all the attention to be on you. To be puffed up is to be arrogant and self-focused. Someone who is self-focused does not love, except that they love themselves. So love is not puffed up. It's not arrogant. And these words, puffed up and arrogant, are based on the Greek word is phusio, Phusio. It means to be proud, to be swollen, or to be inflated. And that is not love. Love doesn't say, here I am. It speaks about someone who is swell-headed, the head big. You know, like you ever seen a peacock? When it opens its wings, I mean, it's a beautiful bird. It's a lovely bird. But you can't help but notice the peacock when it opens its wings. And that's how some people are. They want you to notice them, so they open their wings, whatever their wings are. Whether it's a flashy car that they're driving, or they want to put on a nice dress or a nice suit, or whatever it is, to call attention to themselves. It's all about me, myself, and I. That's someone who is swell-headed. That's someone who says, here I am. That's someone who, when they enter the room, they make an announcement. They want you to know that they're there. All attention must be diverted to them. They feel that they're all that and a bag of chips, as the saying goes. But love is not like that. Love is not like that. Love doesn't show off or boast about its accomplishment, what you have accomplished. That's not love. That's not the way you demonstrate love. And we all know that there are people, if you don't address them by their title, they frown on you, they look down on you, and some of them may not answer you. I have witnessed that firsthand. I am apostle, doctor. I am the founder. I built this all by myself. I was listening to the radio the other day, and there was this gentleman speaking. But he was making the assertion that it was because of him that something he said to a government minister that caused a certain policy to be enacted or be put in place because it was him. Now, it may very well be so. It may very well be so. But what I got is, if it was not for me, then this would not happen. If it was not for me. You know, I know First Lady told you some time ago, we have a friend, but we know somebody who is always saying, I humble. I humble, you know. I'm the humblest person around. You know me, I humble. You don't tell people that you're humble. That's not humility. In fact, you're proud of being humble, which is kind of like an oxymoron. Being humble. If you are humble, people will notice that, and let people say that about you, that you are humble. Let people elevate you. Let people honor you. A couple of days ago, I was honored. And I'm thankful for that. I mean, it doesn't add a day to my life. It doesn't do, but it says to me that people are looking at what you're doing, and somebody appreciates something. I could have gone and said, hey, Ollie, look at what I'm doing. I'm doing X, Y, Z. What Nolan recognize me? What I am professor. I am this. I am whatever. That's not love. That's not the way love operates. You don't call attention to yourself. Let somebody else do that. I hope you're hearing me, because some of us do it, and we may not do it in a big way, but we do it in a little way, and in our small corners. Some of us, we want to bless somebody, but we want to make sure everybody know. You know, we want to make sure everybody know, I am the one that helped this one. I am the one that blessed them. It was me. It was me. And you pretend, oh, that small thing, man, you know, I just wanted to help. You wanted to help, but you're making sure that people know it was you that helped. That's not love. Remember, we are teaching kingdom principles. And we want, Christianity is it's a practical thing as well as spiritual, you know. It's a spiritual thing, but it's practical. It teaches you how to live day to day, day by day. This is what we're talking about. Love is not puffed up. It does not call attention to itself. It does not say, look at me. Jesus, listen, Jesus called himself the Son of Man. He could have gone around and said, I am the Son of God. Hear me. It's his Father that said, this is my beloved Son. Hear ye him. He called himself the Son of Man. But some of us are so big. And as we grow, sometimes God blesses us and we get bigger, we get more responsibility, we get more authority. And it's now people can't talk to us. It's now, you know, speak to my assistant. Don't come directly to me, you know, talk to so-and-so, and then they will tell me and I will decide if I can talk to you. Some of us, I'm sure, don't even have a conversation with your pastor. You can't see them. Now, I'm not saying that when you're in a position of authority that you could see everybody and, you know, sometimes it can become overwhelming. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about because of the fact that you're now in a position of authority, you feel that you can't come down. You can't meet people. Shepherds cannot love the sheep if they don't tend to the sheep. Jesus says, Simon Peter, do you love me? Feed my sheep. Simon Peter, feed my lamb. And Simon Peter, do you love me? Tend my sheep. How could you feed them and tend them if you don't go among them? If you feel you're too high and mighty. Love. We have to love people. Love is not puffed up. It doesn't parade itself. It doesn't say, I am the shepherd and you're the sheep. And don't come to me. One of the things I learned from John Maxwell. John Maxwell is, you know, one of the greatest of our time. For those of you who don't know him, check him out. You know, go on Google it. He's one of the great motivational speakers of our time. And I go to his conferences every year as much as I can. And one of the things, the last conference I went to, he was saying, as a leader, sometimes you have to come off the mountain and go down in the valley and meet the people, understand what is going on down there. You can't lead people if you don't know what's going on with them. You can't be there for people if you don't know their hurts. You can't come among the people only at election time. I hope somebody's hearing this. You can't go knocking door to door only when you want to vote. Only when you want people to stay in the finger for you. You have to care about people. There's a parang soka parang, that talks about, he said he was calling certain people and he's not getting them, and they're his friends, you know, because he voted for them. And he's calling them and he's not getting them at all. He's not getting through. And he says, my calls is not about you to ask you anything, you know. It's just to wish you Merry Christmas. I don't know how many of you know that song. But we make ourselves inaccessible because we get puffed up. That's not love. Because of our position, we get puffed up. And so we want to ensure that we separate ourselves. And even when we do for others, now we want everybody to know that this is what we do. What does Matthew 6:1-4 say? Let's go into the scripture. Matthew 6:1-4. Who has that one? Matthew chapter 6, verses 1-4. Did I give that one, Joshua?
Yes, Dr. Richards. I'll read it for you because no one chose that scripture verse. Matthew chapter 6, verses 1-4. Take heed that you do not do your charitable deeds before men to be seen by them. Otherwise, you have no reward from your Father in heaven. Therefore, when you do a charitable deed, do not sound the trumpet before you as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory from men. Assuredly, I say to you, they have their reward. But when you do a charitable deed, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, that your charitable deed may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will himself reward you openly.
I know we know this. Thank you, First Lady. I know we know about this. But this is telling us, when you do a charitable deed, you're not charitable, the word charity means love. When you do something for somebody, you don't have to put it on Facebook. You don't have to put it on Twitter. You don't have to put it on IG. You don't have to let the whole world know that you did it. If you really did it in love, nobody is supposed to know. But a lot of us, because we want to call attention to ourselves, and you know what Jesus called them? He said they're hypocrites. Because we want the attention to be drawn to ourselves. We want people to look at us a particular way. We want people to talk about us. We want news to come and interview us. We want the whole world to know it was me. That's not love. And I know there are many of us who we don't do this. We practice not letting our left hand know what our right hand is doing. And I commend you for that. But there are those of us who somehow you just feel that it depletes or diminishes what you do if nobody knows that you did it. Listen, you know what Jesus said? Your Father, he is going to see in secret and he will reward you openly. But he thinks we can't wait for that. We want the open reward now. If you want to love, if you are to love, listen. Do not call attention to yourself. And I know it's hard. But you see, we belong to a kingdom that is diametrically opposed to the kingdom of this world. Because the world says, do something and put it on a billboard, let everybody know. So you could get your kudos so that, people could big you up. And the kingdom of God says, do it in secret. Which one will you do? Love does not parade itself. Don't bless people and then boast about it. And let me tell you something. Love doesn't require proof. When I say it doesn't require proof, don't tell somebody, listen, if you love me, you're going to do this for me. That, again, is calling attention to yourself. If you love me, young people, if you love me, then you will sleep with me. That's not love. That is not love. You don't have to prove yourself anybody. You have to prove you love anybody by doing anything that is not of God. Don't let anybody guilt you, young people, or I'm saying young people, but all of us, into doing something that God says not to do. It's not about you. So don't make people feel that if you love them, that you have to do this for them. Love is not vain. Love doesn't call attention to itself. When I was in school, I don't know how many people use the West Indian reader. I don't even know if they have it still. But there was a particular poem, and I know I read it already here, maybe a couple of years ago. But I want to refer to it. Some of us would remember this poem, at least some of us in my era, because I'm not sure right now how many of us would know the West Indian Reader. Is a red book, and I think there were different levels. But anyway, in this one, there's a poem about the glove and the lion by Leigh Hunt. don't know how many of you remember that. And can I just see in the chat, does anybody remember that book at all? Does anybody? All right, I'm switching my screen now, so I'm seeing. Oh yes, they still use it in primary schools. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. That's good to know. Okay, I'm switching back now. All right, so I'm not seeing the but there's this particular poem, and it's an English poem. Now, in our day and time, we have things like sports where you go and watch basketball or cricket or football or even netball. Right now, TNT is in the netball championship or rugby. So for entertainment, we would go and look at one of these matches or one of these games. But in that day, they didn't have that sport. Their sport was watching lions fight. Lions fighting with one another, and they would stay in the stands and they would look down and they would see the lions fighting. And that was their sport. And so this poem was born out of that. So it has a kind of old English style to it, so I hope you understand it. But it goes like this. King Francis was a hearty king and loved a royal sport. And one day, as his lions fought, sat looking on the court. The nobles filled the benches, and the ladies in their pride. And amongst them sat the Count de Lodge with one for whom he sighed, woman that he loved, right? And truly, 'twas a gallant thing to see the crowning show. Valor and love, and the king above, and the royal beasts below. Ramped and roared the lions with horrid laughing jaws. They bit, they glared, gave blows like bees, a wind went with their paws. With wallowing might and stifling roar, they rolled on one another, till all the pit with sand and mane was in a thunderous smother. The bloody foam above the bars came whisking through the air. Said King Francis then, "Faith, gentlemen, we're better here than there." Now the Lodge's love overheard the king, a beauteous, lively dame, with smiling lips and sharp, bright eyes, which always seemed the same. She thought, the Count, my lover, is brave as brave can be. He surely would do a wondrous thing to show his love for me. King, ladies, lovers, all look on, the occasion is divine. I'll drop my glove to prove his love. Great glory will be mine. So she dropped her glove to prove his love, then looked at him and smiled. He bowed, and in a moment leapt among the lions wild. The leap was quick, return was quick. He had regained his place. He threw the glove, but not with love, right in the lady's face. "By God," says Francis, "rightly done." And he rose from where he sat. "Not love," quoth he, "but vanity sets love a task like that." I don't know how many of you would have heard that poem before, and I don't know how many of you would have understood it. But because she heard the king saying, it's better that we are up here than among the lions, and she wanted to prove to everybody that this man loved her so much, took her glove and threw it down there where the lions were, and then looked at him. And he obliged. He obliged. He jumped down into the pit with the lions and came back up, but he threw the glove straight in the lady's face. Love does not do that. Love does not say, you have to prove to me that you love me. That is not love. That's vanity. That's being puffed up. That's pride. Are you hearing me today? Don't allow people to tell you that you have to do X, Y, Z to prove your love for them. That is vanity. If you love me, you're going to spend money on me. If you love me, every time my car breaks down, you're going to fix it. If you love me, that you fill in the blanks. That's not love. You don't have to prove you love anybody. It will be proven by your actions, by what you do. And Jesus had every reason to boast about who he was. I told you that just now. But what did Jesus do? Instead of coming out and saying, I am the King of glory, listen to me. Instead of Jesus saying, listen, all you better listen to him because I come to lead all you away from hell. I come to do all this. He didn't do that. He humbled himself. He walked humbly among the people of the earth. He healed the sick. He taught them. In fact, let's look at a couple of verses, what Jesus said. John 13, verses 2 to 5. Let's look at that. John chapter 13, verses 2 to 5. Who has that one?
Good night, good night.
Aye.
And supper being ended, the devil having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him. Jesus, knowing that the Father has given all things into his hands, and that he was come from God and went to God, he riseth from supper and laid aside his garments and took a towel and girded himself. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel wherewith he was girded.
Thank you very much. Could you imagine? I mean, just picture this. Son of God, King of glory, creator of all things, took water and washed the feet of his disciples. And listen, those feet were dirty because these guys used to walk in a dusty place. I mean, Jerusalem and the surrounding areas were dusty. And it should have been the other way around, don't you think? Shouldn't they have washed his feet? But he poured water into a basin and began to wash the feet, the dirtiest part of them. And not only wash their feet, but wipe it with the towel that he had. Can you imagine that? That is humility. That is an outpouring of love. How many of us would do something like that? How many of us? How many of us would say, listen, let me do this for you? Or how many of us, when we get into a position of authority, we want people to serve us? We want people to do for us. We want to make sure, you see, that's my position. I have a position of authority, and you have to look up to me. You have to respect me. You have to carry my bags. You have to carry my Bible. You have to do this. You have to, open the door for me. How many of us do it the other way around? How many of us would carry somebody's bag? How many of us would wash somebody's feet? How many of us? I want you to think about that for a minute and be real with yourself. I'm not going to ask you to put up your hand. How many of us are willing? That, my friends, is love. That is how love expresses itself. So all this talk about, I love you, but you're not willing to do that. How many of us are willing to do things that they have to pay some people for? And when I say some people, there are some, I know we have nurses among us who have to clean up after people, who have to go and change people. That's their job. But how many of us will do that willingly? Willingly. That's love. That is how you know you love. That's how you express love. Love is humble. It is not puffed up. Love says, I will get down in the trenches. Love says, I will get down, I will dirty myself for you. Love says, I will suffer loss for you. That is what love is. People, that's what we are called to do. How many of us are really willing to love like that? Jesus demonstrated it. Jesus demonstrated it. That is love. Love is not puffed up. It is not arrogant. It doesn't say, not me. I am too good for that. I am too clean for that. I am too big for that. Love does not say that. Love says, if this is what you need and I can do it, I will do it. That's what love is. And it's unconditional. How many of us have people that we employ, but we employ, that's my employee, me in doing that. How many of us will drop them home if they need a drop? How many of us will say, listen, I know your father's sick, your mother's sick, take the day off, go and see about them. How many of us do that? That's what love is. Love says it's not about me, it's about you. It's about you.
Have a comment in the chat, Dr. Richards?
Go right ahead.
All right,
First video, your camera is on, just in case you didn't know. Go ahead.
My camera is on.
Yes.
Okay. Someone says, I will go out the way for you. I will go out the way for people, no matter who they are. Yet they treat you like a dog. But I still don't mind doing it over and over again.
You know, love is not conditional. They treated Jesus, look what they did to Jesus. The same people that he came to save, that he loved so much. It's the same people, it's not outsiders, It's the same people. And we are called to do that. Loving is not an easy thing sometimes. Let me say it that way. Loving is a condition of your heart. It's not dependent on what people do. Love is something that you do. That's what we are called to do. That's why Jesus says, I'm commanding you to love. It's a command. He didn't say, if people love you, love them back. He said, love. Love. Yes. Any other comment?
No, no, Dr. Richards. I was trying to check in the chat. No.
Okay. Let's look at Matthew chapter 20, verses 20 to 28.
I have that. Good night, everyone. Matthew 20, 20 to 28. Then the mother of Zebedee's son came to Jesus with her sons, and kneeling down, asked for a favor.
Right.
Hold up. First lady, your mic is open. Go ahead, Elder Mary.
All right, let me start over. Then the mother of Zebedee's sons came to Jesus with her sons, and kneeling down, asked a favor of him. What is it you want? He asked. She said, grant that one of these two sons of mine may sit at your right and the other at your left in your kingdom. You don't know what you are asking, Jesus said to them. Can you drink the cup I am going to drink? We can, they answered. Jesus said to them, you will indeed drink from my cup, but to sit at my right or my left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those whom they have been prepared by my Father. When the 10 heard about this, they were indignant with the two brothers. Jesus called them together and said, you know that the rulers of the Gentile lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be the first must be a slave, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So many times we want places of prominence. So many times we want to be. Again, First Lady, check your mic, please.
Sorry, Dr. Richards, I was telling you that we have another comment. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
Sorry. Okay, so someone agreed with our first comment. I agree. I help a lot of people, and some of them treat me worse than a dog. I am always going, another comment, I am always going out of the way for people, even those whom I know not.
Thank you, and that's good. Keep going, keep doing more. The more they do to you, the more you should do for them. That's the principle of the kingdom that we are in. And here it is, this mother, like most mothers, they want the best for the children. So they're asking Jesus, I want one of my sons to sit on your right and on one on your left. James and John. And Jesus says, what you asking me, you don't know what you're asking me for, you know. And it's not up to me. But if you're asking that, you have to know that it comes with a price. And then he went on to tell them, listen, the Gentiles, this is what the Gentiles do. They want to lord over everybody. Everybody wants the highest position. He said, not so with you. If you want to be great, you have to become a servant. I wish some of our politicians would understand that they are servants of the people. You're not supposed to lord over anybody. You are supposed to serve. That's why when you get elected, you call it, you serve a term of office. And this is what we are supposed to understand. We are supposed to humble ourselves. Love says, I will be the least. God will exalt me, but my responsibility is to serve, is to wash the feet, is to do the things that a servant does. That's what Jesus said. And he says, I didn't come. Again, he called himself the Son of Man. He said, I did not come to be served. I came to serve. That's love in action. That is love in action. Love is not puffed up. Love doesn't boast. Let's look at one last verse of scripture, 2 Corinthians 11:30. 2 Corinthians 11:30.
Good night. Good night, Pastor. Good night, everybody.
Aye.
Oh, just a minute. I just had the thing here now. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 30.
Yes.
If I must boast, I will boast in the things which concern my infirmity.
Thank you. But that's Paul saying. He said, I'm not going to boast of who I am. I'm not going to boast that I'm Apostle Paul. That's not what I'm boasting about. He said, I'm boasting of the thing concerning my infirmity, the thing that is humbling me. That's what I'm going to boast about. I'm going to boast of, that I'm a servant of Christ. God hates pride. In Proverbs 16, he said 6 things the Lord hates, and the 7th is an abomination. And the first thing that is mentioned is a proud look. God doesn't want you boasting. Listen, love is not puffed up. It doesn't parade itself. If you truly love, I want you to reflect the person that you tell yourself you love. How much are you willing to do for them? That person you're always saying, I love you. We always saying, I love you in this family. We are built on love. But are you to go the X about? Love is not just a feeling and that sweaty palm and heart pumping and skipping and beating. Love is what you do. How much are you willing to do? That shows that you love somebody. That husband that you have, how much are you willing to do for him? That wife that you have, the parents that you have, the children that you have. How much are you willing? How far are you willing to go? How deep are you willing to dig? How dirty are you willing to get for that person that you say you love? Or is it about you? Love does not parade itself. Love is humble. You humble yourself when you love. We're going to stop here for today and continue tomorrow. I want to ask, are there any questions, comments? I know I did most of the talking tonight. Are there any questions, any comments, anybody? I really want us to reflect on this. I want us to reflect in our own lives and our own situation, because we say it so very often, I love you. But what does that mean? What does that mean? No questions, no comments? Okay, so
No,
we're gonna,
Dr. Richards, we have no question or comments.
okay. Okay, no problem.
One question, if you love me, keep my commandments. Isn't this conditional as well?
Yes, yes, Jesus gave a condition. He didn't say, if you love me, go and do this for me. You know, keeping his commandments is for us. That's what he's saying. The thing that I command you to do is for you. So yes, God, all of God's promises are conditional, all. I am talking about people who give you condition for selfish reasons. If you love me, you're going to do this for me, that I may benefit. When Jesus gives us a commandment, we are the ones that benefit, not him. You know, he doesn't need that. We are the ones that benefit. Okay, so let's just switch gears a little bit, as I just wanted to talk to the ministry about a couple of things, maybe just one thing.